Back in the late 90s, the Star Trek television series was in its heyday, with 3 excellent series on concurrently. You had DS9, Voyager, and the final season of TNG. Not only were we getting excellent Star Trek shows, but gaming was starting to pick up too, with one cool Trek game after another. They all tried to do different things, but only one game managed to capture the feeling of being in an episode of TNG. That would be Star Trek, a final unity. Hi, I'm Ben Kai. I'm going to be checking out this Lost Adventure game, but before I get into that, I'd like to briefly mention Spectrum Holobyte's other Star Trek games, which are Star Trek Futures Past on the SNES and Star Trek Echoes from the Past on the Genesis.
Genesis, I presume.
Both of these games are a modified retelling of a final unity that deal with an all-powerful device called the IFD. And just like the PC version, the Romulans are after it, and so are the Chodak, which also sport a completely different look. The difference between these two console versions are superficial, but enough that you'll notice. Like getting your objectives from the briefing room in the SNES version, as opposed to Picard's ready room in the Genesis. SNES features a password system for resuming the game, while Genesis has a regular save feature. But come on, you know you're gonna use save states if you're emulating either title. Away missions have the biggest differences. The music arrangements are totally different. Map layouts are maze-like, but also completely different in either game. But the biggest deal breaker is with the enemies and your weapons. The Genesis lets you fire your phaser infinitely, but has some of the fastest and most annoying enemies ever. While the SNES version has much slower enemies, they pack a bigger punch, and your phaser has limited ammo. Which one do I prefer? Neither. They both suck. Badly. I'd recommend staying away from both of them. While Trek fans may appreciate some classic sound effects and music, the terrible gameplay will make you want to beam the frack out of there. I will say that the script changes made in the Genesis version were unintentionally funny. An epidemic of what, Admiral? Would you believe Diagoron fever? What is this? Get smart?
Would you believe 24 Delta Force commandos?
No.
How about Chuck Norris with a BB gun?
We'll do our best, Admiral. Anything else? There sure is! Long-range sensor detecting quite a bit of Romulans. Intelligence reveal anything? Not Dorothy! Maybe YouTube it just for that. Oh, God damn. So the PC version is nothing like those last two. They were like arcadey shooters, but this one plays out like a classic point-and-click adventure game.
Intriguing.
You start off on the bridge of the Enterprise and have to deal with a group of aliens known as Garidians, who are fleeing political persecution from across the neutral zone. They are pursued by a Romulan warbird.
A Garidian warbird has violated the neutral zone.
Oh, sorry, my bad. That must have made it much easier for the space combat sections. Only had to model one ship, then change the color.
Fire.
So now the Garidian warbird has the political refugees in a tractor beam, and from here you have a multitude of ways to resolve the conflict. Talk to your crew for recommendations.
Any insights, Counselor?
The Garidian captain is torn about something.
Say no to Worf.
We will have to drop our shields to use the transporter.
I'm not willing to take that risk.
Or say yes.
Let's give it a try. Lock phases on the warbird. Fire.
Or just go with whatever Data says because, you know, he's Data. He's the one that always solves problems.
Interesting. The system works by separating the factors of a fifth-order hyperbolic equation and...
Data, just do it.
Yes, Captain.
You're the captain. You get to decide. For better or for worse.
We will surrender.
Heck, you can even just say screw it and leave. Yes, they're dead. Wonder how the story will turn out now.
Enterprise, we require assistance.
We thought you had destroyed yourselves.
Oh, you see, it's all good. They are on a mission to find a religious piece of text called Fifth Scroll. With it, they could unite their people and bring peace and prosperity to their society. Never heard of some religious text that had a good effect on society, but whatever. It's a quest. And we must accept it, because we weren't doing anything demanding to begin with.
Well, this is certainly worthy of our attention.
We are in need of immediate assistance.
It ain't but 2 seconds later that we gotta put our little side quest on the hold and go rescue some scientists at the Mertens Orbital Station. At this part of the game, we get to the away team part of things. If you're playing on Ensign difficulty, then the game will choose the 4 members of the away team for you, and then you're on your way. But put it on Captain, and you get to pick the team. Being a captain myself, I of course picked that difficulty and assumed a leadership role in picking my peoples. We'll need a team leader, so Riker for that role.
Commander Riker, please report to the transporter room.
There'll be wounded, so Dr. Crusher will be coming too.
Dr. Crusher.
We'll need to enact repairs, so I can think none other than Geordi LaForge for that.
Lieutenant Commander LaForge.
And last but not least, Data, because he can literally do anything. Perks for being an android.
I am an android.
Once you've beamed down, it's best to check all your surroundings to get a sense of what's damaged. You've got your standard 4 actions for adventure games: walking, talking, looking, and using. You can cycle through the 4 away team members and put them to use where they are needed. So like this computer here, have Geordi look at it.
From this console, we can do point-to-point beaming inside the station's shields.
Walk over to it, use it, then talk to it.
Hello, computer.
It didn't work.
Oh, it's not that kind of computer? Never mind then. In the next area, a woman is trapped under a large cable.
She's got multiple fractures in both legs. She's in shock and there's some internal bleeding.
We'll have to cut through it with our phasers. And just like in the Generations game, that I also reviewed, you can choose your phaser level. Too high, she die.
She's dead.
This is where you'll learn that your tricorder is your best friend. Scan it to find out what phaser setting to use. That goes for pretty much anything in this game. Whatever you find, scan it.
Phaser setting 8 should vaporize the metal seals on the grill.
And be sure Data is the one doing it, because Data always knows what to do with Data.
There is a frequency window in the sensor shields at a wavelength of precisely 737 point...
Make it so.
When conversing with other characters, you'll want to pick the right person for the job. Riker can talk this guy's ear off, but he knows nothing about how things work.
I don't have the technical background to install this properly.
You need an engineer for that.
Unless... if we use the wave reduction converter to dampen them, the reversal will actually work in our favor.
No one can talk more techno-babble than Geordi.
That's a phase inverter coupling. It's for reconnecting multi-phase energy channels and correcting flux modulation problems.
That's another thing I'd like to point out. Everyone from TNG is here. Geordi, Picard, Riker, Troy, Crusher, Worf, Data, and even the computer.
Computer, what are the current whereabouts of the Vulcan archaeologist Shaynok?
According to Federation Archaeological Survey records, Shaynok is currently excavating ruins on the planet Horst 3.
Well, everyone except Wesley.
Sir, I know this may finish me as an acting ensign, but...
Shut up, Wesley!
Yeah, go back to suck up to CBS, Wes.
I'm gonna have a fanboy moment. I absolutely loved it. It was deeply affecting. It actually reduced me to tears.
I find it really cool to have all the original cast voicing their parts, as it adds to the immersion of a TV episode. I did find one goof up though.
Captain Riker is wounded.
Captain? How did Worf know the future?
It's been an honor. The honor was mine, Captain.
Now that the space station is all fixed up, let's have a look at the Enterprise, shall we? You've already seen the transporter room. Holodeck is where you can rewatch previous cutscenes. And engineering. This is where you can control the power flow to various ship functions. Hey, what happens if I turn off life support?
Life support system down.
We have lost contact with the Enterprise.
Yeah, I think it would be best just to let Geordi handle all these buttons.
Miss LaForge, you have engineering.
Yes, sir.
Here we are back at the bridge. Over here by Data's console, we have the computer core. This is where you learn about the various alien species and phenomenon that you'll encounter. You can even get the location of the nearest starbase, plug these coordinates into our astrogation console, then set our warp factor speed.
Engage.
Boy, that never gets old. Here at starbases, you can get the Enterprise fixed up and reload all the photon torpedoes that you'll use up in space combat. Which now leads me to the last bridge console, Tactical. Look at all these buttons. 5 alert statuses, custom torpedo spread, several evasive and tactical maneuvers, and even the self-destruct button.
Acknowledged. Auto-destruct sequence initiated.
You can control the ship manually with the keyboard, but if you want to be captain-like, let Worf have a turn with the game. Give him the controller.
Mr. Worf, you have tactical.
Captain, I am honored.
Aesthetically, it looks great, but in practicality, the only thing you'll do is fire all your torpedo bays at your target, then you win.
Targeting?
So the game's main story doesn't really get going until halfway through. Until then, you'll be going to many different planets, solving various dilemmas.
Who are you?
I don't know.
To know that you know nothing is the beginning of enlightenment.
Guess Schultz would have aced this test.
I know nothing about everything.
Why are you here?
I know nothing. Nothing.
Including this jungle planet with a gorilla lady that really hates men.
For a male, you are unusually cooperative.
Not even Riker can win this lady over.
I understand if self-analysis is difficult for you.
Strangely enough, she's got no problems with Data.
Welcome. So you are the artificial human. Interesting.
Told you he's good at everything. Eventually, you'll start to learn about an ancient race known as the Chodak.
Who are the Chodak?
An ancient race. At their peak, the Chodak occupied most of what is now the Romulan Empire.
They had this magical piece of technology called the Unity device, but a group of rebel Chodak sent the device into the future, and their civilization crumbled overnight.
There is an old Earth proverb that might apply to such a situation. Absolute power corrupts absolutely.
I'm still a little uncertain as to the original purpose of the Unity device.
It seems to have been a tool for engineering on a cosmic scale. Not just creating, the device has the power to destroy as well.
Create or destroy on a galactic scale? Hey, wait a sec. That's the same premise that was used for the last season of Discovery.
We've been calling them the progenitors. They created life as we know it.
No single being should control this kind of power.
The Unity device is too powerful for any one race to control. It must be used for the common good.
Boy, that show can't come up with anything original for themselves. A lot of times this game feels like you're watching an episode of TNG with how faithful the lines of dialogue are to the characters.
Look, a shooting star.
Shooting star is actually a misnomer. In reality, they are simply meteors which are incinerated as they enter a planet's atmosphere.
I know, Data, and rainbows are just the refraction of light by water droplets, but they're still beautiful.
How the developers set this game's UI up, it could have been used to tell even more interactive Trek stories.
We appreciate your help, Kidra. Kapla!
This setup reminds me of two other Star Trek adventure games that came before it, set during TOS times. It also had the entire cast voicing the game, and featured standalone stories just like the TV series. A lot of people regard these two games as an unofficial fourth season of the original series, but I think the refinements presented in the TNG adventure game make it the better game.
Fascinating.
If you want to have a crack at the game, you can get it running with a little bit of finagling with DOSBox. Alternatively, you could place your vote for it to come to the GOG store and have those good folks over there work on it. I'll place a link to the wishlist entry in the description so you can head over there. Perhaps one day, GOG will bring it to their store and you too can captain the Enterprise and make questionable decisions.
I think it's worth trying.
Whoops.
Sir, we are receiving a signal from Starfleet. It is Admiral Williams.
Oh, we better let that go to voicemail. I don't want to talk to her.
Ignore that.
On second thought, we gotta see if it was important. Oh, not you!
Sheer fuck.
You enjoyed that. You're damned right.